The Tigers drop the finale against the Rays at home, but still win the series. We'll talk about that and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, July 10th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Welcome in. Welcome all, everybody. Happy Thursday. The Detroit Tigers drop the series finale in this three-game set against the Rays at home on Wednesday afternoon. Was going to be a 1 o'clock start, got pushed to about 5:10 due to storms through the Detroit area, and the pushing off of the start time did not help the Tigers. I don't know. That was supposed to be like a clever, transition there, but it didn't really work out. Tigers lose 7-3 at the hands of the Tampa Bay Rays. They fall to 59-35 on the season. Still a series win, but the winning streak does stop at 5 games. The Rays improve to 50-43 after the win. So first thought is really just the reminder that it is still a series win against a playoff caliber team. The Rays are tough to sweep. They are a tough team to sweep because they have also, I should say, such good pitching depth, right? Tigers, we talk about their pitching depth all the time. The Rays have very, very good pitching depth and a very good pitching development system in place as well. Very famously, honestly, I think them and the Dodgers probably have the two most famous quote-unquote pitching labs, as people call it, in baseball. So, yeah, like this, I don't know. I'm not losing sleep over it. It's not the end of the world. I think the pros and cons of this game, and it's I guess the pro and con, it's kind of a good and a bad thing. So the Tigers lost 7-3, but still had a chance to win in like the second half of the ball game. The Tigers were winning by a run after the 5th inning, going into the top of the 6th, and had the tying run at the plate in, what was that, the 7th or the 8th inning? So, like, a good fight. You weren't going to be able to come back and win every single time you fell behind over the course of a season. But, that being said, you're in a position late in a ball game where the tying run is at the plate, and you want your best players to come through in that situation, and they just didn't. Specifically, Riley Green. We'll talk about that a little bit in a second. But, like series win, heading into an off day as well. You get everybody rested up. You get the bullpen rested up a little bit. And then you have your final weekend series, your final series period until the All-Star break next week. So what went wrong? We'll start with Chase Lee. I think he probably is going to be one of the more talked about players from this loss because he entered the game when the Tigers had a lead. And when he left the game, they certainly did not. Had 1/3 of an inning pitched, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, no walks, no strikeouts, and obviously the home run against. His ERA goes up almost a full run, maybe even more than a full run. It's now 3.19 on the season. So I've made it very clear how much I like Chase Lee and that I think he should be in the bullpen the rest of the season. I think I've made pretty clear by now, one outing is very, very, very much not going to change my opinion of him and what he brings to the table. This was just command. The stuff did not look any worse or different than it normally does. The thing with Chase Lee is kind of similar to the conversation we have with Tyler Holton, where it's okay, he doesn't have blow it by you stuff, right? Chase Lee's not going to rear back and throw 98 up and in, and you're going to be really late on it, that he has to mess with your timing, which is why he has the sweeper that he throws. He's also has, obviously, the bowling ball sinker, low and inside, well, really anywhere and inside, two righties. That's all great, and that is what makes him effective. But because it's 89 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour in the modern age of baseball, he has to hit his spots. And if he misses out of the zone, which he's done at times, but like for the most part, he has a sinker. Like he can kind of just pound the lower part of the strike zone and be okay more times than not. But if he is missing his spots, especially to lefties, but really to anybody, and that ball, leaks over the heart of the plate, then he is in big trouble because his sweeper is really it's not a terrible pitch by any stretch, but it is effective because it sets up the sinker, not because it's an uber effective pitch on its own. So he can't afford to miss spots with that, which he did a couple of times, two lefties, which is really dangerous for him. And also plenty missed really to everybody. Didn't matter who was up, missed to righties too. If you're throwing 89 mile an hour sinkers down the middle, that's most major leaguers are going to hit that and hit it pretty hard. And the Rays did a good job of kind of keeping the line moving. Weren't trying to do too terribly much with it, just giving or just taking what he was giving, in that sense. So, obviously not a great performance. Not going to defend it. Not going to say, no, it actually was really good. No, he didn't hit his spots, and that is that. But he's been one of the best relievers on the team all season. Had an ERA barely over 2 going into this outing. Has been unbelievably effective. And one outing isn't going to change the fact that I'd throw him out there tomorrow in high leverage too, and not think twice about it. So that is certainly on the pitching side of things the biggest area that went wrong in this ball game. Offensively, Riley Green goes 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. So there certainly has been a little bit of a downturn. We talk about Riley Green's inconsistencies a lot on this show, and they're always a big talking point in Tigers fandom and in the Tigers media and whatnot. He goes on 3 or 4 week stretches where he's the best hitter on the planet, and then he goes on a couple week stretches where he is very, very far from the best player on the planet. And the last week or so, it seems to be more of the latter than the former. I think this outing specifically was more frustrating because he was in multiple key at-bats. He had at least two of his at-bats were very high leverage, like multiple runners on base. You're looking for your best hitter to do damage, and that's who you want up, right? Like if AJ Hinch could choose anybody on his team to be up in that situation, there's a chance more times than not that it's Riley Green, right? And for him to be up in multiple of said situation and not come through really in any capacity in either of those, it makes it sting a little bit more, and certainly makes it a little bit more frustrating. So something that he continues to work on. He is still so young, and that's something like I want people to remember. He's so young and has been so good this year. He's starting in the All-Star game for a reason. He is this team's best non-pitcher. He acts like it more times than he doesn't. And, I want him in the heart of my lineup every single day. On July 9th, 2025, that didn't work out for the Tigers, but it's worked out a lot more than it hasn't over the course of the season. So, that was certainly frustrating in this game. Let's talk a little bit more about the bullpen as a whole. Then we'll talk about, the offense a little bit more as a whole as well. Then we'll get into what went right and some stuff. We'll do all of that right after this. Got to talk to you today about our friends over at Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That is exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merchandise, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. They've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views before you buy, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for exciting upcoming MLB games. Obviously, the Tigers at home this weekend against the Mariners. Tickets are flying for weekend series. They're pretty much all sold out at this point. Use Game Time to still get in the gates. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, even after this 7-3 loss. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day, and we will, of course, be back tomorrow. Your Friday episode will be a draft preview. The Major League Baseball draft is on Sunday. I will be on the Tigers Minor League Report stream, as I am every single Major League Baseball draft. I think this is legitimately my fifth or maybe even sixth year in a row doing a live draft stream with those guys. So that'll be super fun. Tomorrow's episode will be a draft preview with those people as well. So we'll have Tigers Minor League Report on and kind of go through all the possibilities for your Tigers as they pick in the 20s in a draft for the first time in the better part of a decade. First, though, we got to talk about this loss, put some finishing touches on this conversation, then talk about some fun off-the-field stuff before I get you out of here as well. The bullpen, as a whole, the bullpen gave up 10 hits. Now, I think 6 of those were Chase Lee. 5 of those were Chase Lee. 4 were Dietrich Enns, and then 1 was Brant Herter. So, not all created equal necessarily, but I think that this does, again, just highlight the fact that the Tigers need a high whiff rate reliever at the deadline. That doesn't mean they necessarily need like a closer. Will Vest has been good. Tommy Kahnle has gotten, 8 or 9 saves on the season. Like, they just need some, because AJ Hinch doesn't even really play like the closer, game really as much as other managers certainly have done in the past, and I would say still do to an extent. But if you give him another high leverage reliever that can get swing and miss down the stretch, then you can mix and match and play, matchup ball a little bit more in the second half of the season, and hopefully have somebody who you can kind of rely on to get strikeouts as well. So I think that was just highlighted again, 10 hits and 3 strikeouts for the bullpen in this one. As far as the offense goes, really, they just couldn't get the big hit. And like they have so often this season, and they've gotten such good pitching over the course of the season as well. 3 for 9 with runners in scoring position from the Tigers. And this one is not bad at all. Honestly, that's not a bad day at the office. But in the same breath, not all RISP is like created equal. Not all RISP at bats are created equal, right? The Tigers had 12 base runners in this game and scored 3 runs. I think that's probably on the lighter side. And I mean, as I said, you had Riley Green up, bases loaded, 2 outs. Like, what else do you want? That the Tigers would take that situation 10 times out of 10. Just couldn't come through. And I'm not trying to, like, it's not all on Riley. Again, he's been fantastic this season, has been your comfortably your best position player so far on the season. But nobody. They had outside of the 4th inning, they had runners on base a handful of times, and just really, again, outside of that inning, couldn't get anything done. Defensively, I want to point out as well, we talked about how the Rays are really good at base running. They have a lot of speed. They steal a lot of bases. They also take a lot of extra bases. I thought the Rays just ran all over the Tigers in this ballgame. They were applying pressure on the defense. They had some poor throws happen because of it. It's just some rushed sequences. They had 3 steals, had a couple of, stealing an extra base, taking an extra base, I should say, to not, confuse and mix words. So yeah, I think that was just something, again, that the defense, I don't want to say like could have done better on. It wasn't a poor defensive performance necessarily, but just something that the Rays do to their opponents, and it worked out for them in this ball game. What went right? Zack McKinstry, we'll talk about him a little bit more later in the show. He goes 2 for 4 with an RBI and plays shortstop in this game. So if you look at the last 4 games, he's played first base, right field, third base, and shortstop, and has hit in all of those games. Just absolutely beautiful. 286 average and an 826 OPS now on the season, and it is July 10th. That is absolutely mind-boggling. Had some really good base running decisions as well. Extended a single into a double on a ground ball up the middle infield, right to right center field. So he continues to show his value in many, many ways, shapes, and forms. Brant Herter and Dietrich Enns. We talk about Chase Lee and how he struggled in this game. I thought the rest of the bullpen deserves some credit. We talked about how there wasn't a lot of strikeouts, but Brant Herter, just looked really good again. And I think that some people were frustrated that, Herter didn't just finish that inning. And like hindsight's 2020, AJ, tends to know what he's doing. I at least in my opinion, he's the best manager in baseball. I'm not going to be too terribly upset about it. Again, like if Chase Lee gets an out there, then nobody's saying like, oh, like that decision was really bad. It just, the results didn't go his way in this one. But I think it's, obviously fair. You see how well Brant Herter was pitching. And I think with the off day and whatnot, AJ kind of just wanted to get some arms into the game that maybe hadn't pitched in a few days. So I don't know. We'll see, to each their own with that one. Obviously did not work out in this ball game, but Dietrich Enns, I want to give a ton of credit to. Doesn't have the prettiest line in the world. 3 innings, 4 hits, no runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. But that's a pretty good line. And I think the biggest thing is the 3 innings. So you then don't have to use any of your high leverage back end relievers, and you have an off day on Thursday. That gives everybody in the back end of the pen a couple of days off. And that is thanks to the fact that Dietrich Enns was able to pitch a third of the ball game and not give up a run and keep that deficit where it was at. Also, again, because of that, gave the Tigers an opportunity to have the game-tying run at the plate later. So good on him. We'll see if he sticks in the bullpen. I'm still not 100% convinced, or sure, I guess I should say, that he is going to stick in the bullpen for a long period of time. But that being said, I mean, he certainly looked better today than he did his last start. So we'll see what happens there. Reese Olson, I thought was pretty solid in this game. 5 innings, 2 runs, 2 walks, just the 1 strikeout. His ERA is now 2.95 on the season. Had almost no swing and miss, but that was far more to do, at least in my opinion, with command than it did a lack of stuff. The stuff looked fine. It looks like it does every time he goes out there. That being said, the command was all over the place. The changeup, when it was located well, still got a couple of swing and misses, but it wasn't located very well for a majority of the game. The fastball was all over the place. He had a couple of sinkers that he really dotted on the lower outside corner, couldn't get a call on him, and then it was kind of just back to spraying it all over the place. I'm not like, nervous or upset or, oh my goodness, is Reese Olson okay? Like he's fine. He just missed like a month and a half or a month or whatever it was of the season, and is just getting back into the flow of everything. This is only his second start back. We saw a little bit of that in his first outing back as well. Hopefully his following outing, his next outing, will he pitch again before the All-Star break? I don't think so. I think that's probably his last outing before the break, and that's not a bad thing either. Again, get him rested, and make sure that he's in a place where he feels comfortable throwing the change up to righties and lefties, and in any situation like he was before the injury. So, not the end of the world, but certainly did not have the command to induce a lot of swing and miss in this one. Also, what went right offensively, I kind of talked a little bit of smack on the offense earlier. The fourth inning, though, was great. And the fourth inning kind of was like everything you want in a Detroit, the current Detroit Tigers offense. Like they did everything right. All three of the runs came in the fourth inning, obviously, but there was a lot of aggressive base running and a lot of really timely hitting. Torkelson with a beautiful RBI. He has been so much better with runners in scoring position this season than he has been at literally any point in his career. And that's a wonderful, beautiful thing. But yeah, you had people, Wensil Perez takes an extra base. You had, honestly, like Parker Meadows beating out a double play, right? Not a great at bat, but beats out a double play and that scores a run. Like that is just everything that the Tigers have kind of done over the course of a season in one, wrapped up in one inning. And that was good to see. So good for him. Good for him. Good for the team. I guess good for Spencer Torkelson. But I was talking about the fourth inning from a team perspective, kind of as a whole. And then Colt Keith. Colt Keith goes 2 for 5. He's now hitting 271 on the season with an 800 OPS. Would you believe me if I told you that Colt Keith has a higher OPS on the season than Gleyber Torres? That is a real stat. Gleyber Torres is hitting 273 with a 797 OPS. Colt Keith hitting 271 with an 800 OPS. Now, you ask, where does that come from? Gleyber Torres is an on-base machine, okay? His slug this year has not been very good. It has not been hitting a ton of home runs, not getting a ton of extra base. It's getting enough. And this is not like slander. He's the starting second baseman in the All-Star game next week, and he deserves to be. He's been great. He's exactly what you want in the top of the lineup, right? A guy that just gets on base. His OBP is over 400 in the last month. Like all of these are true, and all of these are great things. That being said, Colt Keith is getting a lot of extra base hits over the last month and is getting on base and is obviously hitting for average on top of that. So just an interesting stat for you. Colt Keith, literally a higher OPS than Gleyber Torres. That could be the case heading into the All-Star break, which would be pretty nutty given where both of them were after the month of April. Let's talk stuff, okay? We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to you all about our friends over at Open Phone. If you're running a business and you know that every missed call is money left on the table, well, then Open Phone is for you. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? No, you called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so important, and that's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system. Helps you streamline and scale customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. Did you juggle 2 phones just to keep business and personal calls separate? Open Phone solved that instantly. And there's an AI agent that helps with after-hours calls, answers common questions, and captures leads, so I never miss a customer again. Open Phone is offering Locked On Tigers listeners 20% off of your first 6 months at openphone.com/Locked On MLB. That's openphone.com/Locked On MLB. And if you have an existing number with another service, Open Phone will port them over for no extra charge. No missed calls, no missed services. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, let's talk stuff. Wow, Devin Booker, 2-year deal with the Suns. Man, kind of was holding out hope that he'd be a Piston. That's too bad. We'll see. We got time. He's young. Honestly, one of the things I wanted to bring up, because we haven't been able to see him in this series, is Fairbanks is one of my favorite players in baseball. He gives such great interviews. He's so good. And I'm glad that he has finally earned like the role of being closer for this team. It's just the Rays bullpen has been so good for so long that even, pre-injury, like when he was still really good, but they just had so many dogs back there that it's like, all right, who really cares who the closer is? Now he's like pretty much the go-to highest leverage guy. So it was cool to see him just because I absolutely love watching him pitch and listening to him talk. The big news out of Tigersville on Wednesday, however, it's announced right before the game that Zack McKinstry will, in fact, be an all-star in the year 2025. That is unbelievable, man. It's so deserved, by the way. He plays every day, has legitimately been one of the best hitters on the team. Zack McKinstry's 826 OPS is what, the third highest? Riley Green, 856, Spencer Torkelson, 838, Zack McKinstry, 826. So there's an argument he's been the third best hitter on the team, which is mind-boggling. He plays every position except pitcher and catcher, which is mind-boggling. He plays all of them well. He's got a cannon of an arm. He runs the bases incredibly well, pushing 15 stolen bases here before the All-Star break. Like, he does literally everything for this team. And the announcement said infielder Zack McKinstry, which, like, I'll take. I kind of want to give him just say, like, baseball player. Like, make it even funnier. Like, make it just blatantly apparent that this guy plays every position. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think he deserves it. I cannot express enough. A year ago, we were talking about wanting this team to DFA him. And now he is an all-star. That's awesome. Zack McKinstry, 2025 American League all-star. And then Frankie Boyd. Good old Frankie Boyd gets an all-star nod as well. He is the Tigers' bat boy, gets voted in as an all-star crew member for the all-star game as well. So I think the Tigers are now sending 5 players and then Frankie. So 6 members of the Tigers organization all going to Atlanta to represent Detroit. We'll see, if some more chips fall, maybe Spencer Torkelson has an outside chance. I think I saw online the other day that he leads all first basemen in home runs. There's still even more room for that. Colt Keith, OPS up to 800, chance for maybe like DH or something. Rhino Hearns had a great year though. My point is the Tigers are really good, and they're really good because they have gotten a lot of production top to bottom of the lineup card. Shout out to Frankie Boyd and to Zack McKinstry. Alex Cobb throws another bullpen session. We talked about that a couple of days ago, but maybe yesterday, whatever. Time doesn't exist. And Evan Woodbury pointed out online that, well, he talked to AJ Hinch about it, and I'm assuming all the beat writers did, but I saw Woodbury's conversation with him, and AJ did not sound very optimistic. He said he was frustrated. He said Cobb was frustrated. Said his body is just failing him. That doesn't sound like somebody who's going to be back anytime soon. And I think the Tigers are probably just kind of under the impression that he's not going to play for the Detroit Tigers this year. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. It would be a great addition down the stretch to have some more starting pitching depth if he can pitch like he did, when he was healthy over the last few years, but I'm not holding my breath. Wencio Perez gets a hit in front of his family. We talked about that story yesterday. I think it's so cool that they were there again today and that he was in the lineup card and got a hit. That is awesome. Shout out Mason Engler as well. Mason Engler had a couple of really big moments for the Detroit Tigers when he was here, but then the rest of the season in his Rule 5 year was kind of, I don't know. He struggled a lot, but he goes 1 inning of shutout ball against the Tigers in this one. So good for him. We're going to preview the Mariners series today really quickly instead of tomorrow, because tomorrow will be all about the MLB draft. Final series before the All-Star break, Seattle at home. Don't know who's pitching for the Mariners, but it's going to be someone good. They have probably the most talented rotation in baseball. I don't think that's like a hot take either. They have 3, maybe even 4 guys at full health that could all be Cy Young candidates. They're unbelievably deep and have an unbelievable rotation. So you're going to go up against somebody good in probably all 3 games. The Tigers throwing out Tarek Skubal, Casey Mize, and Jack Flaherty in that order. Skubal moved up a day to give him an extra day of rest before the All-Star game. That is awesome. And you have the off day on Thursday, so it's still just 5 days for him from his last start. So that's super cool. You get Skubal on a Friday night, which is always a good thing. But also on top of that, you give him the opportunity, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, to maybe pitch an inning or two in the All-Star game next week. So, yeah, Mariners are 48-43 at the time of this recording. Like I said, great pitching. That's going to be the biggest thing. But their offense hasn't been terrible this year. Kind of got off to a slow start, but has rebounded nicely. They have some dogs in that lineup. J-Rod not having a great year offensively, has been elite defensively, but sub 700 OPS at the time of this recording. So, it's a tough team, especially, it's one of the few teams that you look at the starting pitching matchups against Detroit and you don't automatically go, okay, 2 of 3. Like, the Mariners are probably going to be as talented as you, if not more, over the course of 3 games. Certainly not in game 1. Don't get me wrong. You have the advantage no matter who they're putting up there then. But in games 2 and 3, they're going to put up probably some really good starters. So let's go into the All-Star break on a high note. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow previewing the Major League Baseball draft. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. And I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.